Of you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I know it's a busy time of year for everyone with holidays and doing things for your residents and dealing with the weather and all of those things. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be with us. And just a couple of housekeeping. I'll be happy to monitor the chat and Q&A. If you have questions during the class, Cindy said she's happy to answer those. And so I think it's a few minutes after. I would like to introduce you all to Cindy Stratberg. She is a owner and portfolio manager for Evergreen Property Management. And she has did this class at Spectrum, and she also presented it at NARPM. Thank you, NARPM. I just forgot it for a minute. NARPM, and she has added to her presentations at Spectrum. So if you happen to see it at Spectrum, it'll be a little different even now. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn the class over to you, Cindy. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you, Erica. I appreciate the opportunity for multifamily to talk about this. And Erica and I were joking earlier. I thought, do we have anybody signed up? Is anybody going to want to talk about de-escalating difficult clients during the holidays? And we thought, well, yeah, maybe the holidays are the right time to be discussing this. Because, boy, the world that we live in, I think it is becoming a hot topic to be able to have meaningful conversations with all different kinds of humans. So thank you for taking an hour out of your day today to sit here with us and to have this open conversation. I wish so much that I could see each of your faces and have conversations with you beforehand and afterhand. So please feel free to send chats to Erica in the chat. She's going to be watching it, and we have a little system so that I'll be able to get your live feedback, your live questions during our presentation, because I want this to be a valuable time for you. I know you're giving up an hour of your time that you're never going to get back, so I am going to work hard to make sure that that's valuable for you. Thank you, Erica, for that introduction. I am Cindy Strandberg. I am the president and owner of Evergreen Property Management. Evergreen specializes in the management of single-family homes and small multifamily projects. So I've been doing this for about 10 years. I've been in real estate, property management, and fixer-upper land for most of my life. So I appreciate everything that you folks do to secure housing for our communities and to make real estate investing a profitable and viable area for our investors to be working in. And so thank you for what you do. All right, let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to share my screen and put my slides up. All right, here we go. All right, so you can see my slides. Does everything look good, Erica?
I can see. I'm not sure if you want us to see just the slides, or we should be looking at the tab in the.
You mean this tab right up here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let me just close this. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you. The whole webinar is a learned skill that I'm still learning, so thank you, Erica, for your support. All right, here we go. So for today's webinar, I want us to focus on 4 key takeaways. When we wrap up our time together, I want you, 1, to identify and to understand and identify difficult clients. And this sounds very obvious, but we're going to get into that a little bit. I want you to know how to show up when you're faced with a difficult client, when you're faced with a situation that is escalating and you need to bring it down. I want you to have an action plan, and I want you to have tools in your toolbox. How are you going to do that? When you're in that situation and things are tense, I want you to have that action plan and know exactly the steps to take. And then lastly, and most importantly, I want you to know how to take care of you. What it does to our physical bodies and our humanness when we have to do deal with very difficult clients in escalating situations. And I want you to know how to take care of yourself so that you can be the very best version of you. So we'll revisit those as we're going through. But at the end, we'll take a look and see if we've met our goals. So, okay. So let's define difficult clients. Let's talk about difficult clients. We all know that we do this at Happy Hour, but let's take a look at some specific difficult client types. Now, admittedly, this is when we're in a group. It's fun to hear people shout out or nod and go, yep, I know that client, and maybe share a story or two. So hopefully you're with someone else, and feel free to shout out in your own office, oh yeah, I know that client. All right, so let's talk about difficult clients. The know-it-all. Okay, this is that client that just knows everything better than you do. And no matter what you say, they've got to one-up it. They've got to have another opinion or something else to say about it. Okay? The complainer. This is another type of client that's probably very familiar. The complainer will be dissatisfied with whatever you do. The proverbial glass of lemonade that you swim through shark-infested waters to hand them, they will complain that it's not sweet enough. You know, thanks for the lemonade, but could be a little sweeter. And this is a really challenging relationship to exist in because, you know, constantly putting out your very best efforts and nothing's filling your cup. You're just getting that same reaction. So the complainer can be a really challenging client to deal with. The people pleaser. Now, initially you think, please give me 10 people pleasing clients. How bad could that be? But actually, it's probably pretty frustrating for you. This is what your people pleaser clients look like. They're the clients that never say no. Their answer is always yes. Until the estimate comes back, and then it's like well, yeah, but can I get 10 more estimates? Or, yeah, but that's more than I thought I wanted to spend. And you'll see that this client, the people pleaser, wants to keep going because he knows it's the direction you want to move in, but he won't pull the trigger. He won't make the decision. He asks for a million questions, and maybe they'll ghost you and just not respond, or that owner's draw just never appears, you know, or owner contribution never appears. So even the people pleaser, that's a personality that you can watch for, and we'll talk about tools to deal with that later.
This one does not.
The confused or indecisive client. Now, this client is going to ask lots of questions. They're going to demand a ton of data and all sorts of options. They might not even go through with the repair, just because they can't pull the trigger either, because they're confused, they're indecisive, and they don't want to be wrong. So that is also a tough one. And then in the end, they'll usually transfer that blame to you. If they're a difficult client will transfer that to you and say, well, you didn't give me enough bids. You didn't move fast enough. You didn't. And you're like, man, I did everything you asked me to do. But they're really struggling, not you. Both confused and indecisive.
Present a list.
So hopefully, I'm seeing some virtual nods out there that these are familiar clients and these situations sound familiar to you. The just out and out aggressive client. These clients believe they are in charge all the time. They make impossible demands and they're completely unreasonable. And they just escalate fast. I mean, normal clients maybe start down here. Your passive aggressive client is just revs up here all the time. And then we just tip off. So, all right, not a fun client to deal with. Not a fun client to be. I mean, who would want to have to deal with that sort of, you know, aggression and those really strong feelings all the time? Wouldn't be very successful. So, the impatient client. These clients want everything now. They want to discharge discomfort like this. They want it to happen. Now, here is a moment where we all have to be a little awkward, brave, and authentic. And admit, we've all been the impatient client once or twice. I mean, I know I have. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one raising my hand. There are times when waiting is just plain painful. You just want to get it done. And the greater the discomfort I'm feeling about having to wait or the decision or whatever it might be, the faster I want it done. So I think that's one great strategy, is to realize that in all of these difficult clients that we deal with, most of us have been at least a small part of that client or that experience at some point. And just having that understanding that, it's part of the common human experience to have a bad day, to have a bad interaction, makes it a little more manageable. All right, so let's talk about the importance of dealing with these difficult clients. Don't you want to just say, blink? Who doesn't, right? Isn't there the de-escalated client is the problem? This is not my fault. They're just being mean. They're being difficult. Well, those things all might be true, but it's our job as professionals to deal with these clients well, because if we deal with them well, we can minimize the impact that they have on our business. And here's a really important one. We can reduce the amount of stress they cause for us, right? If we have good tools in our toolbox and we handle these situations, it's going to be easier for us. And here is the huge value add. These are passionate clients. And if you can take a very frustrated, escalated client and meet them at the point of their need and turn that situation around, you can flip the script and have the biggest raving fan for your business. Because they're not just difficult to you, they are difficult to everybody they deal with. So when they find someone who knows how to professionally deal with them and get them what they want and resolve the situation, they're going to tell their friends. And that is super important. In this next slide, we're going to talk about that. So, the new customer experience. This is probably a little bit of singing to the choir, and some of you younger attendees might need to Google some of my idioms. But today's clients are empowered, and they find the ability to share information like that. Right? So back in the day, if you made a client mad, they might tell their family and friends and a few neighbors. Today, you make a client mad, and it's like an international post. It is everywhere. Google, everywhere. Yep, it's going to be out there. So unfortunately, though there are more aggressive clients and we're dealing with a different even scale of that, it's even more important today. So 59% of consumers actually today have a higher expectation for service than they did even a year ago. So that tells you something there. And then on the next side of that slide, this one I found kind of interesting because actually I think it was pretty reflective of me. 69% of property managers said, yeah, I get it. We need to establish a service-oriented culture. That's really important. But only 38% said they had a plan and were prepared to do so. So that's why we're here today. So kudos to you. You are here in this webinar and we are going to make a plan. So you are going to be among the 38 that have a plan. 84% of property managers said they communicated effectively with their residents. Sure we do. But only 38% of the residents agreed. So that does tell you that we have a little bit of a mixed message, and we're going to talk about that today.
Our system.
So the importance of reviews and ratings. We talked about how quickly clients that are unhappy can send out just a huge blast. That blast matters. What they're posting matters. 72% of apartment ratings and review sites are checked by folks seeking housing. 72% of your residents are going to look at your Google score, look at things online. And 79% of those will say, of those 72%, 79% of them say, if I see a bad review, if I see a collection of bad reviews, I'm out. Wow. That makes dealing with difficult clients, so important. And then we all know that the 31% of all renters, right? They're moving on to a different community because they want better management. And admittedly, a lot of that has to do with maintenance, but a lot of the maintenance issues have to deal with whether or not they feel heard and understood. And that's something that we're going to talk about today. So I think we can all agree that what we're talking about today is really important. There are aggressive clients. It is important for our businesses, for ourselves, for our teams, that we learn how to handle that well. So let's take that apart a little bit and talk about those really aggressive clients when things are just like bigger than a refrigerator that's not working, right? Or bigger than a light switch is not coming on. You're like, what just happened? We are way up here, and this problem really is right here. Well, this might be an indicator of what's happening. So this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the theory is this, that the needs of humans are, the basic needs of humans are all basically the same, but they're built foundationally one upon the other. And the upper, higher level emotions, thoughts, higher level thinking can only happen if it's built on a firm foundation. So let's talk about this. So the physiological needs, just our basic needs, water, sleep, food, breathing, other activities are on the slide. We need just the basic needs for our body, right? So on top of that is security, body, family, employment, resources, our money. So you can see that what we deal with in the property management industry, water, sleep, food, in their house, security, their finances, charges, what we're dealing with, people's homes, is the basic level for their needs. It is basic human needs. And when you are dealing with that or upsetting that, it can feel very destabilizing to people. And if they are feeling like that area of their world is very destabilized, and on top of that, they're not feeling community and belonging and togetherness, then we're not going to see that respect for others. We're not going to see that confidence, self-esteem. And we're certainly not going to see the creativity and problem-solving abilities, because we've disrupted those lower stable levels of things that humans need to be successful. So on the right, you just see when things get all tangled up. And a lot of times when we're dealing with an aggressive client or someone who's just upset beyond the norm, it's because this hierarchy of needs is a mess. It has been destabilized by something that's going on, and they just really don't have the space, the bandwidth for that higher level reasoning, that higher level thinking, because these needs aren't met. So all of their energy, their attention, their emotion, everything is going to restoring those basic needs. Okay, so when the human body, the human brain ends up in that situation that we believe there is a current and real and present danger to us, our brains are set up to ensure our survival and to go into autopilot. So when we believe our core or basic needs are being threatened, our brain has a neurodefense system that fires up automatically and goes into overdrive. So let's talk about that a little bit. So the green area is the prefrontal cortex, and it's going to allow a greater range of emotional intensity because we might need to get real big, right? This was some people refer to it as our caveman or our primal brain. We might need to get big to fend off a predator. And then let's look at the yellow area. The yellow hippocampus is going to be on high alert, looking for any threats, any perceived threats. So we have emotional regulation that is not happening. And then we have a brain that is heightened, looking for any threats, anything that might be going on that could cause additional harm. The red is the amygdala area, and it's going to decide how to respond to that threat, whether it's fight, flight, freeze, or there is a fourth one, fawn, that we discuss sometimes. But with the aggressive clients, what we're seeing are our clients who are armoring up. They are ready for the fight because they are feeling threatened. And once this system starts in our brain, it's autopilot. It takes a lot. So what we want to understand is that people who are under extreme stress or struggling with mental health issues, maybe they've been exposed to trauma, will exist in this fight, flight, freeze state all the time. Which is why we see clients just escalate so fast. And we're thinking, well, I'm sorry your smoke alarm went off in the middle of the night, but I can fix that. It's not that big of a deal. Well, if you're revving up here already, that's just enough to tip you over the edge. So that's just a little bit of background and gives us a little bit of understanding of the human experience of what's going on. So how do we respond? And I need to say something really, really important here, and I need you to hear me. I want to equip you to deal with these difficult clients, but that absolutely does not mean that any client has the right to devaluate or disrespect you. We all deserve to be seen and heard for who we are and valued for our contributions, just because we're fellow humans. So as I explain what might be going on in someone's brain or someone's emotions, I am explaining that with the intent and in an effort to help you deal with that situation, to give you the tools to know how to de-escalate that situation so you can achieve your goals. And honestly, so you can be helpful to someone else who's in a bit of a crisis. Not in any way at all am I excusing behavior that's hurtful to another human. It's not okay. It's absolutely not. And I will say that when you get really good at handling these situations and de-escalating them, it's not 100% uncommon to occasionally get a phone call from someone who says, "Thank you. I was losing it. I was all over the place. You helped me calm down and make a good decision in that situation." So what you're learning today is valuable in your professional life. It can be valuable in your personal life and valuable to you too. So thanks for all you do out there. Okay, leading with kindness takes strength. It is not a weakness. So we're all facing difficult challenges in our life, and leading with kindness and understanding, even when someone else is being unkind, is the right thing to do. And if you approach your interactions with those difficult clients, and in your brain are equating kindness with strengths, you'll automatically be in a positive position when you're having those conversations. And it's kind of fun too, because once you've learned this, as you're dealing with that difficult, client, you kind of start thinking, wait, is this the impatient caller? No, this is the, oh, hey, I've got an indecisive caller. And then you know how to walk them through it. I get what's going on here. And you can use the tools in your toolbox to walk through there. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and I have some other slides at the end, but what this is something that you all have heard before. It's the tape recorded call of a client being very frustrating and an agent not responding so well. And so in hearing that dialogue, it just further validates the fact that we really do need to learn how to respond well. Oops. There we go. This next slide is one of my favorite. That showing up is important, right? Because we've talked about this. We're going to deal with these aggressive clients. How do we show up? What does that look like? What does it sound like? Well, I want to preface our discussions on what it looks like and what it sounds like with this video, because I think this video is like this close to being really the perfect response. So let's watch this together.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, No. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Wow. So at that point, let's stop this. At that point in our class, usually it is so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. And it's as if the whole group has taken a huge breath in and exhaled, because that's it. Really, I think when I see that, I think of the times people have approached me with that kind of compassion and how good it felt to be heard and to have someone be with me. And it also reminded me of the times that I got the at least statements and how awful they felt. So today, we're going to talk about that empathy. We're going to talk about that compassion. And that will make the people that you are interacting with have that same feeling that I think most of you have right now after watching that video. That was, by the way, Brene Brown. And if you want to do a deep dive on anything to be a better human, she's great. One of my favorite authors, hand down. She also has an HBO special. Dare to Lead is a great book on leadership. And her HBO special is just top-notch in creating emotional vocabulary. So I would encourage you to watch any of those. All right, oops, we're going to go on to the next one. Okay, so let's talk about some practical tools that we can use to put that into practice with our clients. Okay, so let's try, instead of saying, it'll all be fine, flip that up with, how can I help you? Maybe instead of saying, you should smile more, we could say, is everything okay? How about, don't worry about it, into, what can I do to make this less stressful for you? It could be worse. This is tough. Can I do anything? Even as I'm just reading these out loud to you, my guess is you can feel how the first statement doesn't feel so great. And the second statement, actually, you have a physical response and that feels better. Don't be so negative. It must be hard. Tell me about that. Always look on the bright side. It is so hard to see the good in this situation, but we'll make sense of it when we can. Everything, this is my pet peeve one. I guess everybody's got one. This is my pet peeve. Everything happens for a reason. So not true. Do you want to talk about it? Think happy thoughts. Replaced with, I know things can get really tough. I'm here for you. How can I help? What do you need? I've got a plan. I'm going to take care of this for you. Those words are going to work for you. An empathetic, positive response. Really, on the right, empathy is the medicine our world needs. 100% true. Empathetic positivity means we approach things with a solution-focused mindset. It's important that our customers, our clients, our friends, our family feel heard. And the keys to empathetic communication is always to listen first. Understanding the issue is key before responding. And again, empathetic positivity doesn't mean glossing over the tough stuff. We acknowledge when something's hard. This is a horrible time to be without a furnace. I am so sorry. I bet that's so frustrating. Wow, we are having a hard time finding a plumber. I am so sorry. I bet it's really frustrating not to be able to use your kitchen sink. Let me get back to you about that. The power of positivity in customer service. This is where you folks are literally making a difference in people's lives through property management. I know that sounds like it's from The Office or Parks and Recs, but it's true. You can take a bad situation, a frustrating situation for a client, respond with empathy and positivity, and you are the hero of the day. It's also known as just a positive mental attitude. It's an uplifting approach. It's a positive way to deal with life. Okay, so here's another tool for your toolbox. These are 3 things that we talk about in our office. The 3 keys to dealing with a difficult client. Validate, soothe, make an action plan. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Validate. So show you're listening by repeating what the client said. Oh, I am sorry, I heard your toilet is clogged. Yada yada. Ask questions to make sure you're hearing what the person intended. So I understand that the toilet won't flush. You can get that additional information. Maybe toilet isn't the best example used, but anyway, you get the idea. And then communicate that what that other person is feeling makes sense. And based on their experience, you probably feel the same way. I get it. It is frustrating when you have 3 little kids, 1 bathroom, and the toilet is clogged. I hear your frustration. I'm sure I'd feel the same way. Let me see what I can do. All right, validate. Next up is soothe. So at this point, you want to let that other person air their grievance. Just kind of get things off their chest. This is when you're just going to be nodding with your head. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. At this point, you need to suspend the right, willingly suspend the right to be right or to defend or to correct or to move to any other area. This is your time to be in the most powerful position of listening. And as you're listening, you're getting information. You can confirm that you're listening by saying things like, I wasn't aware of that information. Thank you for sharing that. We'll dig into that a little bit more. And you can apologize without assuming blame. And this is what it would sound like. I'm sorry that you had to make this call today. I'm sorry for the frustration you experienced. I am so sorry for the inconvenience this misunderstanding has caused you. Then the next thing we're going to move on to action plan. So we've validated, we've soothed, now we're going to make that action plan. I tell you, it really does work. So let's make an action plan. Ask the client to help you come up with specific requirements. What does the action plan look like? What do you want to happen? Asking this question is like turning on a light bulb. Because sometimes what you think they want to happen is really not what they want. Maybe you think they want it done right now, but what they really want is just to know that it's going to be done. So ask, what do you want to happen? When do you need this to happen? Here's what I'm going to do to help. These 3 things: validate, soothe, make an action plan. Golden. You want them in your toolbox for sure. Now, at this point in the course, I usually get the question, but what if all this nice stuff doesn't work? And that's valid. Sometimes we're talking about escalated clients, right? So they're already pretty frustrated. I will tell you that without a shadow of a doubt, 90% of the time, using these tools is going to de-escalate the situation. But
just add that to it.
Let's go back to the trauma brain that we talked about. The amygdala, the hippocampus, the frontal cortex. Once that system is fired up, if that particular individual is under an significant amount of stress or really struggling with mental health issues, you're not going to be able to talk them down. These tools won't work. These tools are very effective and work really well with neurotypical clients who are processing information in a fairly typical way. When the conversation turns personal, you've done your best, you've pulled out all your tools, you've followed your best strategies,
we can do it.
and you're hearing things coming directed at you. If you were my employee, I'd fire you. You're an idiot. My kid can do this job. I'm going to sue you and take everything your company has.
Came in late, and
That's when you back up.
and we can do that.
That's when you know I've tried my best, and this individual's brain is on fire, and there is nothing I can do because this person cannot hear me.
Just want to try and,
So this statement is kind of my go-to. I hear your frustration, and I hear that this conversation is no longer professionally productive. I'm going to create a plan to help, and I'm going to reach out to you in writing, and I'm going to hang up the phone now. And you hang up the phone.
Okay.
Because literally,
let's get it up
if that brain is truly on fire in that trauma response, you won't. These strategies won't work. So that's a great time for your company to have a policy that at that point you communicate only in writing, you communicate via text. You might need to have a different strategy with that client. They will be very few and far between, but they will exist. And now you have all the tools to clearly identify when this really is your best option. Erica, do we have any questions? We doing okay?
We are doing well. We did have a request for the slides to be provided after the class. We'll make a PDF for everyone, and I'll send those out to everyone. Because I totally agree. I think having these in our toolbox and being able to refer back would be real helpful for everyone.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So we will definitely get these slides out to you. So whatever we're talking about today, you'll have a copy. So let's go on to the next slide. Taking care of you. So this can be tough, dealing with someone's really intense emotions. And I want you all to remember to be aware of yourself on those days that you might have to deal with those difficult clients. Think back to interactions that you have had with these difficult clients, maybe a client that just didn't end well, that you weren't able to bring to a point of validate, soothe, make an action plan, that you had to hang up that phone. What did it feel like? What did your actual body feel like? Because that sort of negative interaction you will actually feel in your body. I know for me, I will feel a tightening right here. And I know that it's going to take me a little bit of a while to de-escalate from that. Some things that you want to look for of what you might be feeling. You might have feelings of exhaustion. You might get off the phone and think, I am so tired. You are tired. Your body really is tired. It took a lot to manage that conversation. You might think, I hate this job. It's the worst job ever. Well, it was for those 5 minutes. But it takes us a little while to put that perspective back in. So when we start feeling that way, when we feel like I can't just get anything done, those are signs that we are dealing with some really difficult people and we need to take care of ourselves. The current state of this world is not making it easy for support agents. I just saw the statistic. 67% of workers believe burnout has worsened over the course of the pandemic. And not only is the burnout tough on the agents it's experiencing, but it's also having consequences for their prospective employers and the agencies. A recent Gallup poll said employees experiencing burnout are about 63% more likely to take a sick day and 2.6 times as likely to be actively seeking another job. So as managers, as owners of the company, super important that you are actively talking to your clients. How did today go? Did you have to talk to any difficult clients? How were those interactions? And really monitoring how your staff is doing. Do they have the tools they need to be able to communicate, to be able to de-escalate? It's definitely a company-wide issue that we all need to be aware of. So how do you take care of yourself? What is self-care anyway? I remember the first time when I heard self-care, I thought, what in the world is that? And quite frankly, I'd be embarrassed to tell you how old I was when I still didn't know what self-care was 2 years ago. Anyway, according to Everyday Health, self-care means taking care of yourself. So here are a couple of things that you can do when you're on the job after you've had maybe a really difficult, challenging interaction with a client that you can do to help you accomplish all the things you want to in a day and still help you just kind of come down from the most difficult interactions. So we're going to start at the top, the yellow, asking for help. This is huge. Knowing when you just need somebody else's perspective. Hey, this is what happened. I didn't get anywhere. What do you think? Maybe spending a few minutes alone. Get up, take a little break, walk outside. If you can get some fresh air, feel the ground beneath your feet, drink a cup of cold water, feel fresh, crisp air on your skin. That will help you just center back to being who you are and not taking on just all of the frustration that you just heard. Putting yourself first every once in a while. Yes, I just need to get up and I need to take a break. And that goes right into asking for what you need rather than just suffering in silence and getting overwhelmed and feeling more frustrated. Stepping back and saying, man, we've got a thing going on. These clients, this particular client, this situation is getting out of hand. How do we handle this? And asking for what you need is really important. Setting boundaries.
Well, no,
here's the deal.
We're going to have an invoice at Priscilla.com.
This is when the conversation turns personal, right? That's your boundary. Here's the deal. I've done all I can do. I've offered you every solution, and I can hear you're still frustrated. Boom, boom, boom. You go into the pitch of getting in touch with them for writing and hanging up the phone. So knowing what your personal boundaries are. And sometimes if you are sick and you are just not 100%, staying home. Because you know that day that you come in really sick and then that aggressive caller client calls you, you're even at a greater disadvantage on dealing with them. So staying at home when you need to, be 100% when you're at work. And then sometimes saying no, I can't do that. That's not a reasonable request.
Mia Sutton, I'm not sure how far along we are with it.
That's not something I can ask the owner to do. And be okay with saying no. And then forgiving yourself. Man, I could have done that so much better. Acknowledge that. Yeah, that wasn't the best me. That wasn't my best moment. Pick yourself up and move on. But just acknowledging all of these things, taking a step back and looking at self-care and knowing that after a difficult interaction or a difficult day, you need to take care of you is really important.
Right. Like Jason and
stop,
basically like, ready
breathe,
to like demote Armando
and start
He's
again.
just gonna, like, totally
At this point in our presentation today, I want to step away from the slides. I
like, trying to
appreciate
like,
the
I'm trying to,
feedback
like,
from
get him to get
audiences
things
so much, and I got just tremendous
like,
feedback from
step up
individuals
and
at Spectrum
and
saying, "Hey, I get it.
between
This is great
that and
information.
this, it's just like, you
How
gotta-
to,
we need to
you know,
supervise
talk
them. We
with
don't need somebody who
clients
just
that
forgets
can
everything
be
and just
de-escalated."
wants to
But
just be-
I
he wants to-
am
he wants to
feeling
be
physically
attacked.
unsafe.
You know,
I
like,
don't feel
like,
safe
he
all the
wants to be
time.
supervisor.
Who's coming
Totally
into our office?
blowing off
How do we
our
defend ourselves if someone
responsibilities
with bad intentions comes into our office? And those are questions that we need to be talking about as teams. Those are real questions. My first presentation, I didn't build that in. I wasn't thinking about that. But thankfully, some folks brought that to my attention, and I talked with an officer with Washington County who was a training officer for them and said, "Hey, what advice would you give to folks in these situations in offices where clients that are unhappy might be actually coming into our office or trying to pay rent in our office?" I mean, we are face to face. It's not a phone conversation, it's face to face, and I don't feel equipped to handle that. So I want to be really careful to stay in my lane today. I am not an attorney. I am not law enforcement. I have no special training in personal safety. But what I can share with you is the information that I was able to gather talking with officers and office staff about this. So one of the things that you want to make sure for your office is that you do discuss safety and you have a safety plan. So you want to make sure that you are in a space where you can always be further than arm's reach away from your clients.
Diego could lose her job because of this.
So that's pretty self-explanatory. So just reach out your arm, get an average length, and just visually practice that so you know how far back to stand from a client. Other thing, you'll want to make sure that your office is arranged in a way that there's a clear view of the entrance and that hopefully there's a secondary entrance. Because if you're in an office with just one entrance and they're standing in front of it, and you don't have a secondary way to get out, that's something you're probably going to want to have a conversation about what that looks like. Another thing that you might be thinking about as a company, having a safe word. A word that you all agree on, that as you're talking with a client, if you start thinking this is going south and I need help, you can say that word. Hotspot, whatever you want to choose. Obviously, that wouldn't be a good one. You'd want to choose what you would normally be saying, but something that everyone in the office recognizes. When you hear that word, you know that individual wants a second person there to help them out. So having a safe word. The other thing you want to have is the clear understanding that when you feel your safety is being threatened, you get on the phone and you call 911. You call, and they will respond to the best of their ability. But you need to know, and your employees need to know, that it's okay to call for help if they need it. If they think they need it, they need it. So those are just basic safety conversations for being in the office. You want to be away, and you want to use these de-escalation techniques. You want to support your colleagues, and you want to call for help when you need it. Some other things that offices might start thinking about, and again, this is a conversation that you'll want to have with your team. You'll want to consult professionals regarding your decision on this, but I know that there are offices that are making the choice to be close to the public and see people by appointment only, that they are no longer accepting rent payments at the office for safety reasons. And so that is a conversation that you can have. Say, hey, is this where we're at? Is this best practice for us? Is this the direction that we need to go? Because we all deserve to feel safe at work, and things are changing. And we just need to be open to have that conversation with our teams. So, all right, let's talk about our 4 takeaways and see how we did. First, we wanted to understand and identify difficult clients. I think we did that. We went through that, and as you're talking to clients now, you can see where the conversation is going and identify what probably the major feeling is behind the conversation. Know how to show up. We talked about showing up with empathy, showing up with compassion, and that kindness is strength. 3, have an action plan. You have an action plan. You've got tools in your toolbox. Validate, soothe, make an action plan. Listening, hearing, repeating back, asking questions. What do you want? When do you need that?
Thanks for calling, Chase.
And then
This is Aria
lastly,
speaking.
hopefully you understand how valued you
she
are
is.
as a
She's
member
on
of our
the phone
industry
for a
and
moment, but
how
if you'd like, I can
important
have
it
her call
is
you
to
back
take
as soon
care
as
of
she's
you.
off.
And now that you have this information, you can share this information with your team members and make sure that they're caring for themselves as well. So I have appreciated you spending an hour with me today. I'd be happy to take any of your questions. Feel free to reach out to me here at this email if you have questions you'd rather address to me privately.
Okay.
I'd be
So,
happy to
the
talk to you
lease
about that,
formation,
and I'm
the
sure
state of
Eric will
Oregon
get
regulates
slides
that
out
now, so
to
that's
you.
the state mandated law,
And
so it's
I just
that's
really
a-
appreciate
so,
you taking the time
so
to talk
there's
with me
one
today. And I
couple
wish I could
so
see you all in
post the billing
person.
to
So.
the account online
I know that is the hard thing. We wish we could see each other in person.
It can be paid by
But
check.
we
Also,
could never have gotten all these people from wherever you're all joining us from, all in the same room at the same time. So the magic of the webinar, the curse is that we don't get to see you, but the magic is that we all get to be here together, no matter where you're at in the state. So thank you so much. And we had allotted some time for questions. So if you have any specific situations that you'd like to chat, I can turn your microphone on for you. I'm sure Cindy is willing to
there's a day rent credit.
listen in and help you out. So we left some time afterwards here. If you don't have any questions, you're welcome to log off at the end of the webinar. But if you do want to stick around and ask questions, feel free to do that as well. We'll wait a few minutes
So she's
and
signed
make sure
this.
nobody has any
So
other questions.
on
You're
the lease
welcome,
termination
Brandon. Thanks for
contract,
joining us today.
we took into consideration that 1 day rent credit.
Such great
So the
information,
rent,
Cindy.
she
Thank
lets
you
me
for the
about on
opportunity.
January.
I too appreciate being
December
able to get so
29th.
many
Excuse
people
me.
together
Yeah.
and being able to speak from my office
Oh,
too.
wait a second here, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes,
been
with our
paid.
membership, all the way down to
Okay, so we
Medford,
just
all
have
the
the
way out to
termination fee
Water and Bend,
plus the,
Ontario, and
there should be
we've got people that
cents.
join from all over, and
Bear with me
the
just a
code,
second here. I'll
it
give you
just
a copy. I'll
doesn't
get
make
you a
sense
number.
for them to be able to close their office to come over to
So
Portland,
we
but
have a
they can hop on a
54.38
webinar.
credits,
So,
the lease termination.
Wow, that is great. Yeah.
yeah. Kasadi says thank you, Cindy. Caitlin says thank you so much. Jill says thank you.
Aw.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Useful information, Kathy said. It was very useful information, I agree. And that's great to have a plan, to kind of be able to visualize, and empathy. Yes,
308 to
empathy
12
versus
cents.
empathy. I love it.
Okay, good. So yeah,
Renee
so,
Brown, you
lease
cannot go
termination fee,
wrong with
1.5
her.
times 1575.
I wrote her name down.
54.38
Absolutely. We have
is
somebody who has something that she put in the
2308.12.
chat. Deb says she has a tenant who is very combative and rude to the staff. Any
And 12
suggestions on
cents.
how
12
to
cents.
stop it from happening?
Yeah. I think having real clear boundaries usually helps. Again, sometimes we're just dealing with some very unique issues, and that is where that person is, and that's where they're going to be. So the two things would be to set a boundary and let them know, hey, the way you're talking to me is really hurting my feelings. Or the way you're talking to me is making me feel really uncomfortable. And stating that, sometimes simply stating that will help reform and flip that script a little bit. And sometimes it's just a matter of knowing that person is going to be unpleasant and getting them in and out as fast as you can and getting support from your team.
Okay. Do it that way.
Does that help, Deb?
Yeah, she'd be able to do that. What we ask is that, so we don't post the bill, we don't post the amount onto the online account until she's ready to pay. So like right now, if she goes onto the account, it only shows the credit. So if she's ready to pay online, she's going to want to call Paula or myself, and then we would add the lease information on there. And then it'll show the 2308.
No, we just didn't know how long of a class
So
it
just
would
want to
be,
call
if there would be a lot of
interaction.
interaction or not. And sounds like sounds like it was a very thorough, you covered everything very thoroughly because everybody's happy.
Good. Well,
Yeah. And so, yeah, they both signed.
Yeah, I think so. Go ahead and if you want to write the slides over, I'll convert them to a PDF and email them out to all the attendees. Right, Cindy?
perfect.
Address the financial situation with Dorian.
All right. Thank you so much.
Move out accounting
Without further
statement
ado,
goes
we'll
out
see you on the next one.
both of your daughter
Bye.
and then it's up to